You understand what I'm saying? I want Gakumba dead.
Listen, the situation has changed, and I think it's going to affect both of us.
Hello and welcome back to Frank's Penance. We have just killed Leon Gakumba, leader of the UFLL faction in this area, and now we've been tipped off by the final reporter left in South Mali, Reuben, that something is going down and we need to meet with him urgently to discuss it. So I have to go there right now. That is my only mission objective. So I'm going to make the trip to the lumber mill near Mike's bar where he's located and see what's going on. That loan shark briefcase was essentially a physical reminder of the fork in the road I was at. I could head to meet Tony, get the safety of police protection and hand over the case so that our mission wasn't a complete waste of time. It would probably save my life and the lives of anyone the cells who would be busted by this info were going to kill. The noble options, basically. The other option was to remain loyal to my old IRA vows, destroy the information, leave the shitstorm that would follow this sting and just get out of there. It reminded me of the idea I had in prison. The idea of just leaving the country entirely and getting far enough away that I could start again, with all previous mistakes forgotten. It was a tempting idea indeed, but the decision was yet to be made. What finally made me take action was a file in the case regarding some smugglers who, according to the information, were bound to depart Ireland that very evening. Following on from my earlier thoughts of a clean start, it seemed that life was handing me the very chance right here. I could trade this incriminating evidence on the ring with the smugglers for passage to wherever they were going. It was a way to escape off the radar that would effectively leave everyone in Ireland assuming the sharks had found and killed me. It was too perfect. I couldn't resist. I took all the documents I could find on the smugglers from the case, but left the IRA stuff inside. I had no idea what to do with the rest of it, so I decided to leave it to fate, since fate was being so good to me. I placed the case beside the bench and walked away. The sympathies of the next person to open it would decide who lives and who dies in the coming weeks of the insurgency. It was like I'd just discovered the secret to a happy life, avoiding responsibility. So I began to formulate a new plan. First I thought I would hit the bank and cash out all the money I'd been stowing away, but fortunately I had a burst of intelligence. If I wanted people to think I was dead, creating bank records probably wasn't going to help. The case had contained a little money, enough to get a hefty coat to hide under and a bus to the docks. The bus went right past the police station as it winded through the city, which was nerve-wracking, but as it turns out the police don't exactly stop every vehicle and check for sting-op runaways, so it was fine. When I got near the docks, I found myself another bench and checked over the documents again. There were various secret passwords I had to remember to navigate the place without getting flagged up as an outsider. The first job was to get by an outer security barrier. Flashed an ID card and started speaking, but the guy didn't give a shit and waved me on. The place was pretty busy even as darkness was falling. Gangs of workers rushed about, noticeably avoiding each other. The whole place was a powder keg of pro versus anti-IRA guys. Finally, I've made it to the lumber mill. I'm a bit cautious because normally this area is flooded with militiamen, but as I arrive, I don't really see anyone. I wonder if there's going to be some sort of ambush, and perhaps that call from Reuben is just meant to draw me here and then I'm going to get attacked. But as you can see, there isn't really anyone around. It's actually quite quiet here. Perhaps Reuben, this legendary reporter, managed to clear out the militia on his own. Well, I guess I don't see any bodies, so perhaps they've just gone off somewhere, and that's part of what Reuben wants to talk to me about. So I figured Reuben's probably inside the building. The entire area looks clear. I hear his voice from inside. Let's see what he has to say.
Thank you for meeting me. I apologize for these dreadful conditions. This was the only safe place I could think of. I hear that Kawasi sent you to Goka Force to kill Dr. Gakumba. So it's true. The APR has launched a massive offensive in Northern District, and the word is you were meant to be their first target. You are lucky to be alive. They are still looking for you and the other foreigners as well. You've all been declared spies. I don't know if you've heard that bit of perverse news. The soldiers are on their way to Mike's bar. They intend to line up all your friends against the wall and shoot them one by one. They're rounding up all the villagers as well. Troops are sweeping for civilians in Pala at the moment. They will reach Father Malia's church before long. When they get there, they will kill everyone inside. Of that you can be sure. You could help them, you know. Not everyone. There's not enough time for that. But you could go to Mike's or the church. I suppose you have to make that choice. I have to go. A car is on his way. I have arranged transport to Mosate Sileo in the south. I should be safe there. For a while anyway.
So we've got a little bit of a situation. It seems the APR are now storming their way to dominance here in this region of South Mali at least, and that both my friends back in Mike's bar and the local civilians are under threat of being lynched by the militia going around with their power-crazy murder sprees. So I have to make a choice. Do I go to Mike's bar and try and rescue my comrades, or do I go to Parla and try and rescue some civilians? It's a decision that's hard to make. It's almost like opposite ends of the utility versus morality scale. It's more useful to me and my mission to save my friends. However, it's probably more moral to save the civilians who overall are the innocents in this. All my friends are military contractors and mercenaries who at least knew what they were getting into. They knew the risks, so perhaps allowing them to be killed by the militia isn't so bad. So along these lines of thinking, I sort of had to make a fairly long decision, but I decided in the end I'm going to go to Parla and see if I can do anything to protect the civilians. We also learned from Reuben just then that the APR had actually intended to kill me after my successful assassination of Gakumba, so perhaps that's why after I killed him a second wave of guys suddenly attacked me. Since the APR and UFLL troops look exactly the same, you never know who's attacking you, but perhaps that time it was the APR who had been hanging off, waiting for me to clear out the UFLL men and then kill me in the process. So luckily, I guess they figured, or didn't figure at least, that if a guy can kill all of those UFLL troops, he can probably kill all of the APR's troops as well, at least send more than 10 guys when you want to take down a legendary mercenary such as Frank Builders. So I've busted through that small checkpoint and now I am clear to drive down into the town. It is somewhat difficult leaving my friends behind in Mike's bar, because it seems that whenever Frank makes friends, he ends up losing them pretty fast. The memory of Flora being lost is still pretty strong in his mind, and now it seems that his other comrades, Paul Ferenc, Singh and Josip, are going to be lost, or at least that's how it seems. We don't know if they can fight for themselves and perhaps escape the situation. At least we do know the civilians probably can't. So we are at least playing the probabilities correctly by coming to save the civilians instead of my comrades. Parla itself is strangely deserted in a quite foreboding sort of way. There's no one around, not even around the faction headquarters of the APR, so I guess they're off lynching people all over the place. Gives me time though to sneak into the church where Father Malia is supposedly hiding with some civilians. Let's see what's going on inside. Looks like he's smuggling them out of a back door just as I arrive. Let's see what he has to say about this.
You are not sick today. That's good. We need everybody to be healthy. A very important day. We have to go. You stay behind. It's us they want, not you. Please, after we go, move the cabinet over the entrance so they can't follow us.
So basically, he wants me not to escape with them and just provide some sort of distraction once the APR troops reach the church and start looking for them. Now, I didn't actually know what to do here. I thought maybe I was supposed to leave or something. I didn't realise that when he said after I've gone, put the cabinet over the entrance, he actually meant before I've gone, because he's currently standing in the door. You actually have to move the cabinet now, as I now discover. So, with that done, Father Malia and the civilians are supposedly away. I guess he has a secret tunnel or something like that. Now it makes me pull my gun out, which suggests to be something bad's going to happen, and suddenly I'm attacked from all sides by mercenaries busting in through the windows simultaneously. I have loads of silenced weapons, I'm not really ready for a fight. I pick up an NG, start firing at the enemies, but I'm completely outflanked, and I get destroyed. I thought I was dead, but actually that's meant to happen. So we wake up, we're somewhere in the middle of the desert, in the middle of a sandstorm, on the back of a body truck, as it turns out. Fortunately, Frank is somehow still alive, and with all of his medical threats still intact. So I've got a chance of survival here, however now I'm trapped in a sandstorm. I think what I have to do is just try and find my way out of here, but I couldn't really work out where I was supposed to go, of course, because every direction looks the same. My first instinct was actually to start walking back along the road, because I assumed that wherever this truck was taking me probably wasn't a good place to go. But I thought, well, let's find out. I'm going to crawl my way down the road towards its destination. We're actually somewhere off the south of the map. Basically, there's a perpetual sandstorm off the south side of the map that stops you from going there. So we're currently somewhere in that zone. There's a large section of the game world which isn't on the map. There's not very much in it, but it's very large. There's just huge deserty expanses, and this appears to be one of those sections. At least it has a road. Now I reach a little barbed wire fence, and there's some sort of invisible barrier that's preventing me from walking forward, so I guess I wasn't supposed to be going that way. Although the game wasn't very subtle in telling me that, I just simply can't move. So I thought, well, maybe I was supposed to go the other way, and thought, well, I don't want to have to walk all the way back since I'm crawling so slowly. So I thought, well, I'll try my bets walking downhill, because at least then I'll be walking a bit faster. I walk into this small, looks almost like a dry lake bed that we're coming down into. And I spot on the left here some sort of vehicle, and I thought, is that a real vehicle? As I get closer, I realise it's actually a destroyed vehicle, so it's not going to be of much use to me. I wanted to go up there and check it out anyway, but as I start climbing up this bank, it seems my endurance gives out and I fall down. So now I'm off the road in the middle of a desert in a sandstorm. Doesn't seem like there's much hope for Frank at this stage. However, luckily enough, it seems that there is a good Samaritan in the area.
Stop swerving. Thought you'd be dead by now. You're stronger than I thought. But not strong enough to stop the APR. They screwed you pretty good. So we've got new men in office. Now what do you think's gonna happen? You already know. The whole world knows. First, they'll take everything they can get their hands on. Rob the banks and the stores. Then, the men will be lined up against the wall and shot. Chop children's arms off and cut the tendons in their necks. And the women... It's a goddamn disease, what it is. A cancer. You see it, they can't get enough. They just take until it kills them. And once they're gone, someone else takes their place, and their disease too. Every cell is infected. And the longer you stay, the deeper the virus goes. In the end, nobody will be left, just the disease. So what do you do with this particular situation? Quarantine the patients. Or you just get dirty along with the rest of them. Stay close, Matara. You don't want us shooting you by mistake. You! Don't move. I've got this covered. Hold that perimeter. Thought you were dead for sure. You all right? The sandstorm's a bloody nightmare. Situation in the north's not good, China. They're after us. Gotta figure out the big step. Nothing broken. No bullet wounds. You want out of here, right? No problem. We'll bring a tracker and leave it for you here at the shelter. But there's a condition. Go back to the bower and kill Kawasi. It'll be easy. The man's holding a turbrelli, standing on a truck, fully exposed. You can do it. When the storm dies down, you'll be able to drive south. We'll be at the crossroads. Shot China. We're done here. Mount up. Pit, you're riding with me. I'll explain on the way down.
So that was Hector Voorhees. We've actually seen him before. He's a member of Bastion UK, a private military company working with the UFLL. So he's essentially a UFLL lieutenant. It seems that he has been displaced by the APR in the area and now wants some revenge. So he's making a deal with me. He's exchanged a vehicle for a mission. The mission is to kill Kawasi, the leader of the APR, who of course just betrayed us by basically attempting to kill Frank during the mission to kill Gakumba. So luckily this random hut we're in happens to be replete with various weapons, a mortar, a handgun and an AK-47, plus some medical equipment, so I'm ready to go straight away. So basically I have to work out where I am. I can see the vehicle he's left, so at least he's done his part of the deal. The sandstorm appears to be clearing up, so it should be possible for me to escape. We're off the map down the bottom left-hand corner, and actually not far from the position where the rally is taking place, when our new assassination mission should be. The jackal seemed to have jumped out the window and has rushed off into the endless-looking desert, so I have no idea where he's gone. It seems there isn't going to be much hope of pursuing him. So, for now, although I'm worried about my friends and kind of want to go back to Mike's bar to see what happened, it seems I should hold up my end of the deal and go and take some personal revenge on the APR and their leader Kawasi. Let's get moving. I spotted a bunch of guys who looked downtrodden enough to be IRA supporters. Their southern accents confirmed it as I approached. I said a few magic words and they figured I was working with the smugglers. They were pretty delighted to show me the way to go, which either meant they were about to ambush me or they loved the smuggling deal. Turned out to be the latter, as I ended up staring at a flaky looking cargo boat beside a warehouse with thugs on guard. I noticed the name of the boat had been painted over several times. It had been given or forced into new leases of life, much in the same way I had, so I guess that was a good omen. Now I was standing beside it with the question of how to get myself onto the crew. I needed to find their leader, a guy known as Ko, according to the intel in my jacket pocket. I said the name to an underling and tried to look confident enough to belong there. The guy didn't really know what to do, but I gave him a faux knowing glare which prompted him to lead me into the warehouse. Inside, standing among various containers and crates, some of which clearly had military weapons in them, was a group of men laughing it up together. Didn't smell like alcohol though. Not really sure what I was doing, but knowing I had to do something, I marched up to them and tried to guess which one was Ko. None of them paid any attention to me, even when I was really close. If I didn't identify Ko quickly, the underlings around the place might have seen through me, so I got a little panicked and just blurted out, "Ko, leader of the smuggling ring known as the Track." Well, that got their attention, and a few loaded weapons out to play. Ko kindly identified himself through his friends bunching up behind him like a true gang. He was actually older than I had expected. What remained of his hair was grey, his face rough and tanned with a smattering of dents and scars. He seemed more badass than anyone I'd seen in the IRA, that was for sure. Pretty unnerving when he locked eyes with me and took a heavy step towards me in his creaking leather boots. He asked me how many I had, in a strong Irish tone. I thought it was a password question, but actually he thought I was here to bust them and was referring to how many police I had surrounding the warehouse or something like that. After a short exchange, I convinced him that I was really alone. One of their guys patted me down for weapons, which reassured them a bit. I explained I knew they were leaving that night and wanted in on the trip. They almost laughed at the idea that some guy could just waltz in, but Ko, apparently a little sharper than the rest, was quick to ask how I knew they were leaving, doing so with a grin full of holes. It was the perfect segue into my big reveal. So now I'm finally approaching the site of this rally. We can already just about hear Kawasi shouting things to his various APR men. They're somewhere ahead of me according to the map. I thought they might be just over this ridge, but actually there's nothing here. They're over the next ridge, unfortunately, behind those rocks in the distance. Which is a shame because this would have been an ideal vantage point for me to attack them from. So instead I'm going to have to get a little bit closer, dangerously so. In fact, I can just about see some vehicles over the edge of this next ridge, so I'm going to head up to the top and see what's down there. I'm expecting there's probably going to be quite a few APR troops, and indeed there are a bunch of guys standing around. I see they're all looking at something to their right, and then I spot Kawasi himself standing on top of a truck, shouting at them. So this is my chance. How do I take him out? I thought maybe I would try and use that mortar I picked up. I've never fired a mortar in this game. I had no idea what to do. So I thought I'll just have a go and see what happens. I fire off a shell into the sky, have no idea where it's going to land. Unfortunately, you get trapped in an animation when you do that, and the enemy spotted me. So the rally's been broken up. Now I'm under attack. I'm forced to gun these guys down. I've got no cover and I'm taking damage. So I'm going to move forward towards those rocks. Someone outflanked me to the rear, but I was okay. I'm taking heavy damage from the right. Wanted to check out the left and secure it. Took out one guy there. I've restored my health. There's still a couple more guys on the left there. I don't know what's happening to guys on the right. I think they're coming into the center now. I decided to throw a grenade just to see if I could cause a distraction. Came back around onto the right. I spotted Kawasi hanging around in a tree and took him out. And it turned out he was the last guy. The grenade cleared out the rest of his troops. So that was a very quick engagement. We've just destroyed a large part of the APR forces there and killed their leader. So we've taken revenge for their leader's plot to kill me, and to kill the APR leader, who in fact was much more favourable to Frank in the past. Now my mission is to return somewhere to the south. It looks like I need to go back the way I came. So I just collected some ammo from the dead in the area, and now I'm going to start the long drive back into the desert and see where my new mission objective takes me for now. First, I just explained what I had, but didn't show them anything, fearing they would snatch it away and ruin my hustle. I said that I'd been stealing old police property through a deal with an insider that had gone sour, and now the police were after me. I said I'd swiped that case, hoping I'd be able to trade it for amnesty, but realised that wasn't going to happen. Now I needed out of the country fast, and the case seemed to bring me to them as if it was my fate. It wasn't too far from the real story, which helped me tell it, I guess, since they didn't even seem to doubt it. I showed Ko one of the documents. Seeing his own handwriting on it probably put the nail in the convinced coffin. So that was the moment when really one of two things was going to happen. Either they could just mug me, get the rest of the stuff from the docks, and hope I hadn't stashed any more someplace else as insurance, or they would overestimate my preparation and actually allow some guy telling tall tales into their crew. Well, actually, that was exactly the sort of guy that this crew happened to recruit from, and since their operation was pretty heavy on manual labour, having more guys was always going to help. Or at least, that's how Ko later justified his decision to agree to my offer, an agreement that shocked the rest of the guys in the warehouse. Ko noticed he might be making an unpopular decision, so he asked me the big question: how could I be sure that I wasn't a mole? I told him I was a mole, trying to be witty, and then quickly explained what I meant by that before a cricket bat found its way to a mark on my head. I explained I'd been an informant, and I knew it looked bad, but actually I was only doing that to get out of prison to rejoin my true calling. With that, I rolled up my sleeves and showed them a small tattoo that was a common IRA insignia. That drew a few relaxing sighs. I sealed the deal by dumping all the cash I had on the floor and saying that even if I did turn out to be a total con, at least they had some cash either way. They probably didn't need it, but the deal was now done. Within 10 minutes, the documents were fish food, and I was a human forklift helping the rest of the underling crew move the overly heavy crates up into the boat, shuffling in the shadows of even heavier ones being hoisted by a crane. Ko hadn't told me where they were going, and the other guys either didn't really speak English or didn't know either. All Ko had said was that they would soon be somewhere far away, where weapons are worth their weight in gold. I wasn't a master of geopolitical events, as you might guess, so I wasn't going to be working out what that meant anytime soon. But all that really mattered to me was the far away part. Hadn't thought past that, so I was just relieved that this crazy smuggler gambit looked like it might get me out of the frying pan. Soon enough, the boat was throwing up wash as it began to chug into life. As I saw the docks begin to slide away from us, I couldn't help but think of what I was leaving behind. I thought about my mum, I thought about Tony, I even thought about Fergal. All of them were people I was letting down, betraying even, but I wasn't inclined to think that way. If only for my own sake, I found a way to think that they had in fact betrayed me. Not seeing what it was I truly needed, not protecting me from myself, or not giving me the information I needed to process the strange world I lived in. As the last sunlight disappeared and the stars broke through the glare, I told myself that no matter what my old mum expected of me, there was nothing I could do to please her now. The best I could do was whatever kept me alive. All sense of duty faded away. I became just myself, a survivor, a single ego in a world of death and riches who knew nothing but that nothing mattered. It would be a long time before that addictive mindset would fade, and I would look back in horror on all that would come next. So I followed the objective, and it's now led me to a new region of South Mali and a new town which has a ceasefire zone in it, so it appears I am safe for now in this area. It's full of militiamen. I guess they're a mix of UFLL and APR troops now, since it is a ceasefire zone. I'm guessing also that the north must be now mostly APR, since they're running their takeover scam. So the actual objective is somewhere in this town. I need to check. There's lots of buildings. It's this one in front of me. I can see the guard by the door, which suggests there's something going on inside that room. I wanted to steal some of this ammunition on my way in, but actually I had full ammo. Good news. So let's head inside this building and see exactly what this objective I've been sent to is. I can hear Voorhees inside talking something about a boat. Let's see what's going on.
Never mind. I think I just solved my problem. Good. You made it. And Kawasi's dead. So now the question is, what's our next move? But yeah, Bastian UK packed up and left the country. That's right. I spent 10 years eating most of those boys in Angola, and look how they had to pay me. We're on our own, China. Only way any of us are going to make it is if we plan ahead. I've been thinking about it. There's a good chance the warlords in Baasika will decide to join forces, end the conflict for a while. If that happens, soldiers like you and I are fucked. The men in charge always manage to get by. It's the foot soldiers that get lined up against the wall and shot, every time. So, we're going to keep that from happening. Turns out your friend the Jackal's got a huge stockpile of weapons hidden on the island near Port Saleo. We're going to bring them into the city, give them to all the locals, and under an APR flag too. I reckon that'll force my boss to get his head back in the game. Let's get things started up again. Let's face it, Put. We need the business. I've got a captain to handle the boat. Now I just need someone I can trust to escort the goods. How about it? You interested? I can get you a meeting with the big man. Adi and Bantue. All you have to do is make your way to Le Sejolo. The island's called Sejlal or something.
So basically, Voorhees wants me to start a war because as a military contractor he can benefit from that situation. So he wants me to bring some of the Jackal's weapons into town, say it's an APR invasion, and force the UFLL to make a stand against them. It's almost similar to something the Jackal was saying. He was talking about there being problems when one faction actually wins, and that it's best to just quarantine both sides by forcing them into an eternal civil war. He was justifying his own decisions to supply weapons to both sides and force them to fight each other, and in some ways it seems that he's right. Once the APR took over, things got even worse. The state of war was actually better for the people than the state of anarchy without the war. So I don't know if this mission is along the same lines, but we'll find out next time on Frank's Penance.